Welcome back, friends, to another lecture of fluid mechanics and rate processes. We will continue our discussion on kinematics of flow. What we would like to discuss today is that suppose I consider a fluid element in a two-dimensional plane, then within the flow how does this element move and deform, and I would like to connect it to certain quantities, for example strain rates, rotation and so on. So, let us consider a velocity field. So, let us say V is the velocity field. It has two components, Vxi and Vyj. X is, let us say, the direction in the horizontal direction and y is the vertical direction. Let me begin by talking about the initial state of a fluid element, and for convenience I choose it to be a rectangular element like this. Let me number these, name these nodes of the element A, B, C and D. Okay. The length that we are going to consider in the x direction is dx and the one in the y direction is dy. Now, because of this velocity field, this element moves in the fluid. So, let me draw now what happens to this element after a time delta t. So, let us say this is the element at time t, and I am going to draw for you the element at t plus dt. So, let us say the point A gets convected to this point over here, and I will call this A prime, and let us say the point B moves to the point B prime. Similarly, let us say the point D actually moves to this point over here, let us say D prime, and the C could move to C prime. Okay. So, this element has obviously deformed. It is not a rectangular kind of an element that it was earlier. This angle, which was 90 degree, has changed to another different angle. In fact, it has reduced, and you can see the edges AB and AD, they have rotated. So, these different nodes are actually moving with different speeds. So, let me first say that let us call this velocity as Vx and Vy at A. Remember, this Vx and this y, they are functions of x and y. So, they are in principle spatially varying. If it is a uniform flow, then we know this element is simply going to translate, it is not going to deform or change its shape. So, let me say the velocity here at A is Vx, Vy. At B, using the Taylor series expansion, I could say the velocity at B is Vx plus del Vx by del x dx, and similarly the velocity y is Vy plus del Vy by del x dx. So, you can see the speed at B is going to be the different than speed at A. I can similarly talk about the speed at the point D, and this would be Vx plus del Vx by del y dy, and likewise the y speed is going to be Vy plus del Vy by del y dy. Okay. So, the speeds at point D and B in principle could be different than the speed at point A, simply because there are these velocity gradients. So, Vx changes with x, Vy changes with y, and that is why this element looks a little bit deformed. So, what is the deformation of this element? If I try to break up into its components, I can see that it goes through 4 different kinds of deformations. So, it goes through a translation. Translation is simply that if I had, let us say, an element like this, then it gets convected to a different shape, to a different position, but does not change its shape. So, this is translation. This would happen, as you will notice, if Vx and Vy are uniform. They do not change with space. Okay. So, that is one. I could also have a situation where this element could actually rotate. So, I could have rotation. And the way I would like to picturize rotation is, so these are of course x and y axis. This was my initial element, and now these edges simply rotate about the z axis. So, this edge rotates by an angle theta, and so does this other edge. So, this would constitute a simple rotation. I could have yet another kind of a situation where I have shear deformation. Or sometimes I can even call it as some kind of an angular deformation. And this would be the following. So, this initial element, this angle which was initially 90 degree actually changes. So, I could have a situation where this guy rotates, this edge rotates, this edge also rotates. Okay. Or maybe I could, for giving you an example, I only call this one edge which rotates. Okay. So, this initial angle which was 90 degree now actually becomes less than 90 degree. Plus, I could have something called a dilation. Sometimes people refer to it as dilatation, or even something like an extension, wherein what we are doing is that given this element over here, the initial element, it now extends its edge along x and along y. So, possibly I could have an element that looks like this. Right. So, one of the edges or more than one of the edges, they got extended. So, I could have a deformation which could be either one of these or a combination. The picture that I have drawn here is most likely a combination of all these. So, it is certainly translating, the element is certainly rotating, this angle is changing. So, there is definitely a shear deformation, and the edge lengths are also changing. So, there is definitely a extension or a dilation. What we want to do is, we want to find components of, for example, the rotation for this scenario, or the components of the shear deformation for this scenario, or the dilation. And once we have done that, it will expose a beautiful structure that we would be able to use in our further analysis. Okay, so let us work out the arithmetic with respect to this element that I have drawn. So, let us do a little bit of marking here. So, if I wanted to calculate this distance, you will agree with me that the point A has travelled with a speed Vx, and that is in time delta t dt. The point B, for example, has travelled this distance, which I would call as Vx plus del Vx by del x dx times dt. And therefore, this edge length changes from dx to another quantity which we can find out by manipulating these two distances. Similarly, I could argue that the point D has moved to d prime. So, I could argue that this distance here is actually Vx times dt. Sorry, it is Vx plus del Vx by del y dy dt, because I would be moving with this speed and that speed is over here. I could also argue that the vertical distance between d and d prime, so this distance here would actually be given as the speed at this point, the vertical speed at this point, which is simply Vy plus del Vy by del y dy and whole times delta t, and so on and so forth. So, I should be able to make out different of these distances and I can work with them. What I am going to now mark on this diagram is, let us say this angle is theta 1, or maybe I will call it d theta 1, and this angle here is d theta 2. Okay. It should be possible for me to estimate these angles as well, because I know what is the vertical distance that A prime has travelled, what is the vertical distance B prime has travelled, and then the difference between them would give me this length over here, and I already can get an estimate of what is this length, and thereby I can get an estimate of these angles. Okay. So, let us do some arithmetic. So, the first thing that I want to estimate is the rotation. In fact, I would like to call this as rotation rate. I want to estimate the rate of rotation. As you know, in solid mechanics, when I apply a certain force on an element, then it would simply rotate. But here, and then it would stop at a final state. But in a fluid mechanical system, when I apply a certain force or a torque, then this element would simply keep on rotating till that force is or that shear is removed. So, I can talk about a rate of rotation. So, I would like to calculate that. All right. So, I can see here that edge AB rotates counterclockwise by d theta 1, and edge AD rotates clockwise by d theta 2. So, what therefore is the net rotation rate of the element? Okay. So, now there is some kind of an ambiguity. I mean, the two edges are rotating by different speeds. So, therefore, we can come to terms with it that the rotation rate of the element is the average of the two. Okay. And therefore, I would simply say this is half of d theta 1 by dt plus d theta 2 by dt. Okay. All right, let us estimate d theta 1. So, I want to estimate this distance. This I can say is actually the new distance, but it is roughly equal to dx. So, I can get the estimate of d theta 1. So, what is d theta 1? D theta 1, as you can see, is this little distance here, and it is very easy to see that there is a difference between the vertical location of B prime and A prime, because the vertical velocity of the two are different, and they are actually different by this amount. So, I could say that d theta 1 is simply del V y by del x, and this is times dx, and this whole thing divided by dx. So, I have approximated, because this angle is small. So, I could approximate d theta 1 as simply tan inverse of the vertical distance by the horizontal distance, and that in turn I have approximated by dx, although this would be dx prime, but those are second order effects. Okay. In fact, this would be d theta 1 by dt. That is the rate. Okay, so these cancel out, and I get del V y by del x. Similarly, I can calculate d theta 2 by dt, and that now is in actually the clockwise direction. So, that would be essentially this distance divided by this distance. So, this distance is essentially coming because of this this speed here, which is changing of the point D with respect to A. So, this you can see would be minus del V y by del x, and therefore, I could say omega z, which is actually the rotation rate of fluid element can simply be given as half of del V y by del x minus, I am sorry, I made a mistake here, this should have been the x speed. So, this is del V x by del y. Sorry about that. So, let me explain you again what I have done. So, I am looking at the distance travelled by the node D with respect to node A, and that happens because of the difference in the x speed of the point A with respect to D, and this is the x speed versus the x speed over here. So, the change is simply del V x by del y times an amount delta y, and I would have to divide it again by delta y. So, that is why you get this. Okay, so, coming back to the expression, this is what I would see. So, my omega z is this expression over here. So, what I have been able to show is that given a velocity field, the net rotation rate about the z axis, so mind you this is x y, so about the z axis is simply given by this quantity over here. I could go ahead and do this now in 3 dimensions, and I could find out what is omega x and omega y. So, let me get these expressions for you. I have worked them out. So, my omega x is given as half of del V z by del y minus del V y by del z, and omega y is given as half of del V x by del z minus del V z del x. So, one could simply work these out by taking different planes. Okay. I have taken an xy plane, you could take an xz plane and a yz plane and calculate these rotation rates. If I had to write this in the vector form, so omega is the rotation rate of the element, it is given as omega x I plus omega y j plus omega z k. Okay. Let me now remind you the quantity curl of V. So, recall. If I try to evaluate what is curl of V, we know how to do that. So, this is I j k, and I would write this as del by del x, del by del y, del by del z, and this is Vx, Vy, Vz. And I can work these out. So, for the I vector, excuse me, I get del Vz by del y minus del Vy by del z. So, that is the ith component, and then I get the jth component, which is going to be del Vx by del z minus del Vz by del x, and let me also try to squeeze in here the kth component, which is going to be simply del Vy by del x minus del Vx by del y. Can you see the similarity between omega x, omega y, and of course omega z and the curl, right? So, let us first compare omega z, del Vy by del x minus del Vx by del y, and just a factor half. And likewise you would see omega x and omega y. So, this is omega x times 2. Okay? Very nice.